welcome to everybody on September 17th, 2022. Anybody here for the first time who would like to introduce themselves? Okay. So let's go ahead with the land acknowledgement, Simon.
We, the Climate Reality Dallas Fort Worth chapter, acknowledge the ongoing harm caused by colonialism and white supremacy perpetuated in Texas. Indigenous communities have suffered genocides and forced removals from their lands. We recognize that we all are standing on land stolen from Indigenous people, particularly those of Kickapoo, Wichita, Tawakoni, Jumanos, and Comanche in the DFW areas. We are committed to cultivating mindfulness around the history of Native lands and communities through continuous education, participation, and active listening.
Thank you, Simon. Can you jump into the community ground rules?
Absolutely. During these meetings, please make space or take space. Try to limit your responses to 2 minutes each so everyone has an opportunity to share. Speak from the I perspective instead of generalizing. Practice active listening and seek to understand. Assume good intentions, respect one another's space, time, and interest. Be willing to be uncomfortable. Be open to productive discomfort. Remember that intent does not negate impact. Disagree without discord. Personal attacks and labeling have no place in our chapter. And accept that there are no quick fixes for the problems we discuss.
Thank you. Thank you, Simon. Let's jump into our creatives piece with Beth.
Good morning.
Morning.
Well, here it is, September. And so we notice our breath and our breathing, understanding that the rhythmic nature is echoed throughout all of nature. And we focus our gratitude and our contemplation to this changing season and to the equinox, which is coming up next week in the middle of the week. The earth in her wisdom gives us 2 times a year in between extremes to experience balance. Equinox. So we get to contemplate what that means. Equinox, equal night. Equal amount of daytime and nighttime, equal amount of yin and yang, equal balance of the masculine and feminine principles that operate within all of us, equal amount of expansion and contraction, allowing a centered presence in life. All living beings, animals, plants respond to this equal amount of light and dark. Even us 2-leggeds, only nature knows it and we sometimes don't. We're smart. We think. We have to function in a different way in life. And still, we, in the deepest core of ourselves, are influenced by what happens to us in body, heart, mind, and spirit through this equality, equal day and equal night. And so it is that we ponder this and ponder how it affects our life and our art and our activism. We give gratitude to the earth. We give gratitude to this season that reminds us, harvest, harvest, harvest what you have grown, harvest those goals that you have manifest. Enjoy the harvest of the food that the earth is bringing to you. And remember that you can crawl into the cave like the bear does for a nice nap and listening to the silence. And so we begin our meeting.
Thank you, Beth. I'm Richard Wayne, and let me take another pause. Is anybody here for the first time and would like to just say hello and introduce themselves? Just sort of chime in if so. More people are logging on as the clock ticks. Okay, or if you're not comfortable in live, you can certainly, oh, the link to our agenda again. Okay, Alex, you put it up, good. Okay, if you're not comfortable with the live introduction, please maybe write a couple of notes in chat, just so people know who you are and what you're interested in. Okay, we are getting ready for our speaker today, and many thanks to Amy Hunt, our publicity chair, who has accepted the challenge to discuss the Inflation Reduction Act with us. Of course, it's perhaps the most important piece of legislation, environmental climate legislation ever. And I believe it's imperative that we understand it. So many thanks to Amy for taking this on. If you want to say a few things about yourself first, Amy, you're certainly welcome to, or you can jump right into the topic. I don't know how well people know you, but you're certainly welcome to give us a little bio and introduction if you're so inclined.
I guess I'm so inclined. My name's Amy Hunt, and I've joined Climate Reality last August. And I've only given one presentation thus far, so I feel like I'm really letting the community down, but I've got more on tap. And the only reason I gave that was because John Quinn had one lined up and he wanted a partner. So thank you, John. I see you down there. Anyway, I had already done a little bit of research on the Inflation Reduction Act for that presentation with John. So when Richard said that y'all needed a speaker and that there was already a presentation made, I figured, well, I might as well go for it. So if that's okay, am I able to share my screen, Richard?
You should be. If not, Pradeep will allow you to. I think you should be.
I'm not. When I try to do share screen, it says, okay, now I can. Perfect. All right. Okay, can y'all see a big thing that says share screen? I mean, the Inflation Reduction Act?
Yes.
Okay, Alex, give me a thumbs up if you can see it. Okay, because you're right on my screen. Okay, thank you.
You're good, go for it.
All right, so we're here to talk today about the Inflation Reduction Act, which was signed on August 12th. It's a $740 billion package, $740 billion total package. Let me put this down here. And that includes $369 billion in investments aimed at combating climate change, and that's the largest investment ever. And by the way, if anybody needs to say something, put it in the chat, or has a question, put it in the chat, because I've minimized the window so I can't see if anybody's waving. All right, so it will be paid for with a series of tax changes expected to bring in hundreds of billions of dollars in revenue, including 15% corporate minimum tax, 1% excise tax, and enhanced IRS enforcement, which of course has caused a lot of consternation, but it's expected to bring in about 124 billion in tax revenues that are now lost in fraudulent tax returns. Let's see here. It's projected to reduce US emissions by 40% by 2030 from 2005 levels, and that puts us at least on path to meet the pledge that Biden made to reduce them by 50%. It could cut annual emissions equal to taking over 215 million gas-powered vehicles off the road, pretty much the equivalent of what's in Dallas already, or shuttering 268 coal-fired power plants. Could avoid up to 3,900 premature deaths and 100,000 asthma attacks by 2030. And families could save up to $1,800 in energy costs each year by utilizing programs to switch to electricity. And I'll go into each of those in a little more detail later. The environmental justice is a big one. It's $60 billion for frontline communities, including $3 billion for community-led projects. This is the basis of this presentation is something that Al Gore made, I believe, or that he presented. I don't exactly know what that community-led projects means, so I apologize for not having that information. $3 billion to reconnect communities segregated and separated by highways and other infrastructure. We know about that here in Dallas. $27 billion greenhouse gas emission reduction fund with $10.8 billion dedicated to clean energy in disadvantaged communities. $550 million to provide safe and reliable domestic water supplies for disadvantaged communities. Yet again, this is something that's been in the news recently and is greatly needed. $7 billion in grants for zero emission technology in or benefiting low income and disadvantaged communities. More than $4 billion to cut air pollution near frontline communities. $3 billion to reduce pollution from ports that overwhelmingly affect lower income families and communities of color. That's out of that $4 billion above. And $41 million to monitor and reduce different forms of air pollution in disadvantaged communities. And $145 million to accelerate clean energy transition in indigenous communities. This is the part that should help us, 1.5 million new jobs by 2030 and could grow the economy with clean energy. It will likely cut the deficit by $102 billion over the next 10 years, bringing down healthcare and energy costs. There's a significant portion of the package that includes that's related to healthcare, and I don't go into any of that here. So the IRA includes a couple of things. I'm only focusing on climate. The bill provides $2 billion to convert existing auto manufacturers into clean vehicle producers and dedicates $200 million to help states train contractors in the energy and efficiency and electrification sector. The avoided air pollution from the IRA could prevent more than 400,000 lost workdays in 2030. Not sure how they figured that out, but I believe them. The global impact of this is even bigger. It can be a turning point for the U.S. as a global leader on climate and a nation that delivers on its promises rather than backs out. Provides $1.5 billion to monitor methane emissions and reduce pipeline leaks, which will support U.S. commitment to the global methane pledge. And coming from the world's largest economy, it can help keep the Paris Agreement alive and give other nations the confidence to follow suit. It tells the world that we're back and we honor our word, opening space for critical trust and collaboration with nations across the planet. Despite this progress, the U.S. and other major emitters have work to do financially to help developing nations adapt and thrive in a warming world. These are some provisions that we need to resist along the way. As you know, we had to get Joe Manchin on board, so there was some give and take here. So the IRA tethers new offshore wind leasing to oil and gas projects. It requires offshore lease sales in Alaska by 2023 and the Gulf of Mexico by March and September of 2023. The side permitting deal stipulates expedited approvals for new natural gas pipelines and fast tracks the harmful Mountain Valley Pipeline. Leases being awarded do not guarantee development, and we can fight these pipelines and new drilling every step of the way. So the Inflation Reduction Act, and here we're going to go into a little bit about the various things here. Let me check and see if there's something. So these are all 2023 going forward. There are some tax credits that you can get right now for purchasing an electrical vehicle. It's not through the Inflation Reduction Act, and they are only for certain manufacturers that haven't already sold 200,000 electric vehicles. So Tesla and GM is off the table already, but there's a number of other makers. Anyway, starting in 2023, income qualified households, and we'll define that later, will be able to receive a tax credit of up to $7,500 for purchasing certain electric vehicles. They must be assembled in North America and have a battery that meets sourcing requirements. They must retail for less than $80,000 for trucks, vans, and SUVs, and less than $55,000 for other vehicles and sedans. And if you're thinking what I'm thinking, which is, EVs are really expensive, I'll be surprised if many of them fit under that umbrella. I suspect that automakers will adapt so that, it will encourage people to purchase those. So these are the income qualifications. Households with an adjusted gross income of up to $300,000 will qualify, with heads of households that need to be below $225,000. Individual filers must be below $150,000. That all makes my head hurt a little bit, so I may wait until 2024 when dealerships will be able to offer the value of a tax credit up front to consumers. That might make it a little bit easier. Home weatherization is another big thing. In 2023, families can claim up to $1,200 in credit each year for adding insulation or installing efficient windows and doors. They can receive up to $2,000 for electric heat pumps and up to $150 for home energy audit conducted by an inspector to determine the best updates for your home. State programs will also begin to offer rebates for electric appliances and home retrofits, which will reduce household energy bills each month. Now, these will be administered by the state and they are not in effect yet. So I can't give any specifics on how exactly that will work in Texas, but I will share a website that should be able to offer that information. All households will be able to access rebates of up to $4,000, while low-income households could receive up to $8,000 for home efficiency. Low and moderate income households can access rebates covering up to 100% of the cost of installing heat pump water heaters and clothes dryers. Rooftop solar panels. Starting in 2023, households will be able to receive a tax credit to cover 30% of the costs of installing rooftop solar. This credit will apply to solar systems that are paired with battery storage, as well as standalone battery storage installed without solar. I encourage everybody who has questions about the homeowner aspects of this, and specifically, automobiles, weatherization, electric vehicles, solar panels, heat pumps, windows, induction ovens, all of those kinds of things. Whitehouse.gov/clean energy has a really good, very specific information on that. And they have a little area where you can sign up to get rebates, updates, like they'll email you with information as it's coming around, because obviously these things will take some time to get worked through if the states are overseeing them. So going back to some of the pipeline stuff, we need to call on Congress to oppose all efforts to gut the NEPA, and that is the National Environmental Protection Act. I apologize, I don't have my notes in front of me, and expedite the permitting process for new pipelines. So we do not want them to expedite the permitting process for new pipelines. So we want to oppose those efforts. We want to ensure that state and local governments use funds in the Inflation Reduction Act to address the most pressing needs of frontline communities. As we know here in Texas, certain office holders like to use money for reasons other than they were intended. So we need to make sure that that money goes where it's supposed to go. Petition the Biden administration to strengthen regulations across agencies to further reduce emissions, and urge President Biden to utilize his executive powers to address prevailing climate justice concerns. The U.S. can use momentum from the IRA and international goodwill to deliver on pledges to support developing nations and challenge other leading economies to follow suit. We also need to, as individuals, try to get out the vote for November 2022. A lot of Texas statewide office holders can impact climate and can help or impede the enactment of the Inflation Reduction Act in Texas. Obviously, we've got governor, lieutenant governor, and attorney general coming up, but there are 4 other office holders that have a significant influence on climate issues in Texas, and that's the railroad commissioner. And the railroad commission, as you may or may not know, oversees the oil and gas industry. It has nothing to do with the railroad. So it is an incredibly powerful commission that almost no Texans has heard of, although I bet everybody on this call has. The land commissioner oversees the state's lands. And as you can suspect, much of our public lands are leased to oil and gas entities. So the land commissioner can have a lot to do with that. The agriculture commissioner, in addition, can, help or impede the transition to sustainable and renewable agriculture, which, as we all know, is a significant agriculture. The current agricultural system is a significant contributor to climate change and carbon dioxide emissions and methane emissions specifically. And the comptroller is one that nobody really thinks of, but the comptroller is charged with reducing methane emissions on state-owned lands. So the comptroller, it's a pretty unsexy job, but they do an awful lot. So please make sure that people know to vote for those. Thank you very much, Leah, for posting that on the NEPA, National Environmental Policy Act. Thank you. So please research the candidates for their stance on climate change and how current office holders voted on the Inflation Reduction Act. And make sure they know how you feel about it. Reach out to your city council member, county commissioner, state rep, and senator, and let them know that climate and the enactment of the Inflation Reduction Act are on your radar. So we all know the Texas power grid is vulnerable and needs the additional capacity as well as the energy savings that the Inflation Reduction Act can deliver. So I am going to save that as and I'll do this while other people are talking here, but I'll save this as a PowerPoint, as a PDF, and as a keynote. And I'm going to save it to a Google Drive that everybody can download. Obviously, if you want to adapt it for a presentation of your own, you can, but if you just want to know information, and I've put the sourcing on the information about the rebates in the presenter notes. Oh, and it looks like Pradeep is saying that he's going to do an Ask Me Anything on Thursday from 7 o'clock. So thank you, Pradeep. So I think I probably came in under time, which I doubt anybody is complaining about, but if you have any questions that I may or may not be able to answer, please shout them out. Is that Chip?
Yes, thanks, Amy. That was wonderful. A great overview of the act, which, boy, we should all be so happy passed. I just wanted to follow up. I'll check the link that will be in your presentation so I can look at the website, but I'm still dealing personally, for example, with the Snowmageddon from last year. And just yesterday, I bought a huge number of appliances that won't be delivered for more than a year than now because of the war and COVID and all that. But I'm wondering now, when I was hearing your presentation, whether I should have just paid like an upfront deposit instead of paying in full. I may try to get them to stop the check, but I don't know if you know, or if there are any CPAs on the line, whether they know whether it's important to stagger the purchase, price, the payments, if you can, into 2023 for major energy efficient appliance purchases and weatherization and efficient window treatments and things like that. And then I also just wondered, I wanted to just clarify whether there were any, as initially reported on NPR and in some major national newspapers, any point of sale rebates that you're aware of that are available for these, climate copacetic items this year. I thought that there were going to be, but it seems like the retailers and even the wholesalers and the contractors, the construction industry don't seem to know anything about that. So
yeah, I tried to find that out too, and I was going to try to call like Lowe's and Pella and all of those people, because you figure the ones that are selling them, they would have that information. And I wasn't able to do that yesterday, but I looked on their websites and I thought, oh, well, surely they're going to be using this as a selling point, and their marketing department just hasn't gotten up to speed on it. And it could be that they're overwhelmed. I posted a link to a CNET article as well as the whitehouse.gov clean energy. That CNET article, it's about here's how the Inflation Reduction Act will save you thousands for energy upgrades. That has a lot of really specific information, and the White House clean energy page has stuff that you can do this year. And, you know, but it's much more limited. So I would go to that clean energy page and see if there's anything, but I'm like you, Chip, I had a hard time finding, you know, good, solid information. And I suspect there's going to be, maybe that's a job for somebody to become a broker of that information of how to get all of these. That's why, you know, if you're not in a hurry, I might suggest trying to wait a little bit till everybody gets this codified, because I'm in the same spot trying to figure out, okay, when can I buy what it is I want to buy?
Yeah.
Which is an electric vehicle.
And a lot of times they point you to the state, but we have a weird state, of course, that's now trying to foment, along with Arizona and Florida, a new war between the states, it seems. And so even if we get the resources to Texas, query whether Governor Abbott, if he remains in power, will be, and the governor's office is another one to focus on in this state coming up, whether they'll actually accept the federal money and implement rebate programs and everything, because they may think it's communism or something. You know, anyway, that was a great presentation. Thank you.
I'm trying to find, there's a website that has a list to all of the different state programs. And Texas actually has, you know, some, and obviously we're a leader on wind energy, but I'm going to have to find that. I can't think and scroll at the same time. I'm not a good multitasker. No,
Okay.
somebody's posted Energy Star about federal tax credits. Look at Pradeep knowing things.
You have a couple of hands up as
I
well.
apologize. Okay, Pradeep, why don't you chime in? Pradeep, are you there?
He is unmuted, but we're not hearing him. Maybe Jan.
No.
Maybe
Yeah, Jan, how about you? Hi, Jan.
Hi, hi. Great presentation. Thank you so much. I don't know anything about taxes, but just real quick, does anybody know if these rebates will come in the form of a deduction where you have to meet the standard deductible, or straight off the top, you know, a separate line item? Because I never meet the standard deductible, but you know, I really want to take advantage of them. Just thought I'd ask.
That's a very good question, and one that I don't even remotely know the answer to. And some of them will be rebates, you know, point of sale rebates, like in 2024 with the electric vehicle tax credits that the manufacturers, or I'm sorry, the dealers will be able to offer them. I don't know the answer though about whether it has to exceed the standard deduction. That's a super good question. And I'm sorry, I don't know the answer to it.
I didn't expect you to. I thought maybe somebody in the group is a tax expert and would just have noticed this already. And I could certainly do my research with all your tools.
Chip is
Thank
saying
you.
that they're mostly in the form of tax credits. So regardless of deductions, you should get them. Rebates at point of sale will also help.
Awesome. Thank
So
you.
I don't really know how taxes work. Does anyone know a tax expert we can bring in? Yes, Alex, we definitely need to do that. I'm not that person though. Pradeep, you with us?
Yes, can you guys hear me now?
Yeah, we can.
Oh, okay, perfect. So a couple of things in the past when I bought solar panels and EV vehicles, there is one tax rebates and there is one tax credit. So when there is tax credit, even though it doesn't matter whether you have enough like taxes you are paying for the credit, you still are paying for the government, you still get that rebate, the whole amount. But with so the tax rebate, again, I might be confusing between rebates and credits, but one is so no matter how much you pay for in taxes, you can definitely get the full amount. In other, you need to have enough like so taxes you are paying to deduct from that so to get your refund. So that I'm not sure one or the other. So the second thing I want to point out is rebates for appliances. I did get rebates in the past for my so heaters and ACs and stuff, but typically like I check this Energy's what's that? I forgot the name of it. EnergyStar.gov websites where you used to see based on the CR ratings of appliances, you have so many rebates. This is the first time I saw zero rebates in there. I think maybe they're in the transition between the new IRA guidelines and the old ones. That is what I'm suspecting. I'm also in the market for so buying more appliances. So I'm waiting for that things to be settled. One thing about EV rebates is I work for a company who does a lot of research on EVs. So we know little bit information on so what's going on with EVs because of the conditions put forth by an IRA that so where the core resources will be mined, which countries, whether our allies or not, so there are so many restrictions on who will get rebates, which manufacturers can get rebates. So there is 50% for so where they are assembled and 50% on so where they are mined. So we don't know fully so which vehicles will be qualified for next year to get the 7,500. It's still up in there because manufacturers are still trying to figure out their supply chains to see how they can make their vehicles qualify for next year. So I can share so some website where so they have some analysis of which might potentially be qualified for next year that we are not sure yet. So yeah, so I'll try to find that link and share that. That's all I have to say. Any other questions? I can probably answer if I already done that.
Does any of the vehicle rebates, do they apply to used vehicles or would it
Yes.
only be new?
No. Did I not include that? Yes, there is used vehicles, electric vehicles. Did I not include that?
$4,000.
I don't think it was. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I didn't include that. I'm a terrible presenter. Yes.
No, don't be silly. No.
Used vehicles have to be less than $25,000. And I believe, yes, I think it's a $4,000 tax credit. I'm going to add that information in there. And then when I'm done doing my thing and we're doing other things, I'll add that information there and post that Google link.
There are provisions so to prevent people from selling from one friend to other friend, so get that 4,000. They have conditions in place. How many times you can apply in, so I think there is a 2-year limit. You can only apply one rebate in 2 years time frame or 3-year time frame, things like that. And you can only buy from a dealer. If you buy from private party, there are some rules and restrictions, I guess. But still, so if you're genuinely so buying a used EV, you will qualify as long as you're in the income bracket. So yeah, there are conditions in place to make sure to cut down any people who are doing just so reselling and stuff.
Yeah, it says income qualified households qualify for a tax credit up to $4,000 on a 2+ year-old vehicle that costs $25,000 or less. Sorry, I didn't include that because that is actually important. I don't see any other hands. Richard, I will send it back to you then.
Thank you, Amy. That was so helpful and useful, being so immediate and practical information. I just want, before we leave the topic, I don't have a question as much as a comment. It's easy in these challenging times to forget that we're making a contribution with our efforts. And I would like to say that I do believe if it wasn't for people like us in Climate Reality and other like organizations, I don't think that this Inflation Reduction Act, as compromised as it finally became, would ever have had a chance of passing. So I think we should give ourselves a bit of a pat on the back because we have made a difference here. Each of us have put enough pressure on the powers that be to make this a reality with real and practical implications. So thanks again, Amy. Really appreciate that.
You're welcome. It was very educational for me too.
Good. I think we have a film coming up next that Alex is going to explain to us. Alex, you have the floor.
Thanks, Richard. So as many of you are probably aware at this point, our former chair and our current membership chair, Jeff and Leah, moved to Oregon this past summer for a job opportunity. And so we wanted to take a moment to say thank you to them and all they've done. So if I can get my share screen to work. Hey, Jeff. We have a short video to show. Let me make sure. Is there, I'm used to sharing on Microsoft Teams. Yes, share sound. Okay, make sure that we have share sound. Hey, Leah. Hey, Jeff. On behalf of Climate Reality DFW, we wanted to take a moment to thank you for everything that you've. Just to confirm, y'all can hear that, right?
Yes, we can.
It's a little low, but we can hear it.
Individually. Okay, I'll start it over. Hey, Leah. Hey, Jeff. On behalf of Climate Reality DFW, we wanted to take a moment to thank you for everything that you've done for us and for the chapter, as well as for everybody individually. And so without further ado, check out this video for some of the, words from some of our chapter members.
Leah and Jeff are two of the first people that I met when I joined Climate Reality. I cannot imagine the Dallas chapter without their leadership, their motivation, or their friendship. Good luck to both of you in your next chapter of activism.
Hey, Leah and Jeff. Joan and I had a chance to say goodbye to you in person some time ago, but I wanted to contribute to this video for the chapter as well, mostly to express my appreciation for all that you contributed to the chapter, especially during my time as chair. I remember very clearly when you first came to the chapter, and your way of coming exemplified what made you so valuable. I've always thought of you as two people who did what good activists do. You showed up. Right after you came, we had a little effort to do something for 100% renewable, led of course by Michael Martin. He wanted to get something going on solar. We called for a meeting at La Madeleine on University Boulevard. Michael and I showed up, Roxanne Siebert, and the two of you. And that was true for the rest of the time you were in the chapter. You always showed up. Leah, I've had a chance to say to you in person that you became indispensable to me as chair of the chapter. When we went to the new plan to have a vice chair, you're the person who stepped up and showed up. And I could not have done any more than I did without your tremendous help, because I was tired and burned out and all those things, and you just contributed so much to carrying it along. And Jeff, our relationship was a little different. I always thought of you as kind of Jiminy Cricket to my Pinocchio. You never hesitated to tell me when I was being too cranky, too curmudgeonly, a little too blunt. So I appreciated that input from you too. I know the chapter is going to miss you tremendously, but as you know, Joan and I are on our way to Oregon. So we'll look forward to seeing you there. Thanks again for all you've contributed. Best of luck in Portland.
Hey, Leah. It's Beth. I'm in a tree house. Isn't that wonderful? And I just wanted to say thank you. Thank you for what you gave to the chapter. Thank you for the guidance that you gave to me while I was early in the process of figuring out being the creative chair. And Jeff, thank you for all that you did, and wishing you both the very, very best in the beautiful Northwest. We will remember you. Thanks. Bye.
Hello, Jeff and Leah. Congratulations on your job, Jeff, in Portland and your move to a blue state. Hopefully Leah can find a good job there soon as well. We will certainly miss you. You were at my first Climate Reality DFW chapter meeting at the Meadow Center in Dallas several years ago, and you've been important parts of the chapter for years. Thank you for your significant contributions to the chapter and to the Climate Reality Project. Best wishes, and I hope that our paths cross again soon. Take care. Bye-bye.
Hey Jeff, hey Leah. Nitya and I are very fortunate to know both of you and call you one of our closest friends. We are still getting over the fact that you left us, but we are very happy for you. Our future get togethers won't be the same without you. We miss you a lot and all the best.
Hi, Leah and Jeff. I just want to tell you guys how much I appreciate how kind and welcoming you were to me when I joined Climate Reality about a year ago. You've made the last year a lot of fun, and you will be greatly missed, but Oregon is quite lucky to have you. So thank you for everything, and I wish you both the best of luck.
Hi guys, Chip here. I just wanted to thank you for your leadership in the chapter roles you played, the membership chair and the chair of the overall chapter. It's been a pleasure to get to know and work with you, and now that I know you have the good sense to leave this heat for the Pacific Northwest, my respect for you, already big, has grown even more enormous than usual. So thanks again for all you've done for us here locally, and it's been wonderful to see you grow in the roles, and I know that you'll carry on the good fight in your new geographical location. But Hotel California, you can check out but never leave. Stay in touch. Take care.
And of course, I need to say my piece too. So first, Jeff, congratulations. I know this is a really exciting opportunity for you and something that you have been really looking forward to and something that you've kind of been dreaming about. And so congratulations. As sad as we are to see y'all go, we're really excited for these new opportunities that you have. And also thank you for being a friend and for being so supportive of everybody and for just kind of being that reassuring presence that you are and will continue to be, both for Leah as well as for the rest of us. And then Leah, you know, my good friend, my good friend, thank you for everything that you've done for both Climate Reality DFW as well as me. I can honestly say that I would not be where I am or have the opportunities that I have without you encouraging me and pushing me and just being you and connecting everybody. And thank you for being there. Thank you for being my friend and for continuing to be my friend, even though, you know, we've got a little bit of distance between us now. I know that's not going to stop us. And again, really excited for the opportunities that y'all have. But thank you for everything. The end. Speech,
Okay.
Leah, speech.
Sure. Leah,
Oh,
Jeff,
no.
would you like to say a few words?
Well, Jeff, you go ahead first.
All right, I'll go ahead. I know Leah needed a few moments to collect her thoughts and probably change of clothes too. Well, first of all, I gotta say, well, thank you. Really, it's really being an honor to serve for the community. It is definitely an opportunity that has grown way past of my anticipation. When I first started, at first we're just thinking, you know, we got to do something, you know, maybe something small. We don't know where to start. Then Leah started joining Climate Reality and I followed suit. And then Roger kind of filled you guys in on, you know, the whole story of that. And there are a couple of things I want to quickly share. So throughout the video, there are a couple of things that stands out, right? One is really like friendship and like community. That's kind of what we find we really cherish throughout this learning experience, you know, life experience with Climate Reality, was our client family, you guys. You know, that bound, you know, you created, especially in a very challenging fight that we have in this climate crisis. You need each other. You need each other to support. And we also learn from each other, and you hear from Rogers, right? You know, it's not just, like positive, good vibes only, those type of failing. We have different ideas. We gotta come from each other. We have different ways of doing things, but it's all for the good. And the second point is what Roger was saying, show up. That's probably the most valuable thing Leah and I have learned throughout this process. If you care about something, you want something done, there's no other way better to do it than just simply show up, just be there. Once you're there, people will start helping you because they see how much you want it, how much you want this to happen. So yeah, these are just my 2 takeaways. And again, really thank you guys so much. It's an honor to be able to work with every single one of you. And I'll hand the floor to Leah.
Well, he said everything I wanted to say, so that's why I asked him to say something first. Well, yeah, thank you guys so much. I literally was typing WTF in Discord in my private chat to some of you. Yeah, I really, really loved working with you guys, and by working I meant, literally picking up my phone, texting you guys and calling you guys. I didn't have a system set up to keep track of all the projects, so I apologize sometimes if I lose track of everything. But yeah, like having you guys around, like you guys know, we moved to Texas 5 years ago, right? And so within the pandemic, we haven't traveled back to see our friends and families. And so a lot of you just became our friends and families in Dallas, right? And so that has been really, really, I just love it. I love it a lot. And a lot of times we're thinking about, balancing work and fun time together. But eventually when you have your family around you, that's our climate work become our fun time, right? Like a lot of you know this. We've seen each other sometimes. Just I will continue to tune into whatever work you're working on. Hopefully I'm involved in the Portland chapter right now, so I'm gonna ask if they have a tax credit expert, and we can always connect each other in that process. But please do a big event so I have an excuse to come back and see you guys. I have a lot of trust in Simon and Alex and Richard, and so you guys please don't leave. Thank you guys so much. I don't have a lot other things to say except for just really show up, right? Because I don't have any superpower. As I told Al Gore in June on the stage, I have no background in community building. I have no background in environmental justice or even environmental science, but really in the space, we just need to show up. And I think you guys will continue to do that. So thank you. I'm gonna wipe up a little bit of my tears and let the agenda go on, but thanks.
As you can see, we will miss you. We love you, Jeff and Leah, and we wish you the best.
And now we have opportunities for cross-chapter collaborations.
Yes.
So.
And maybe with one in, is it Eugene, Oregon as well? Where Roger's moving?
I think that's where Roger is.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah. Good. Okay. Well, moving on to the next topic, we do have one work group update. Alex, do you have the update from Michael Martin on some energy ideas?
Yes, I do. Yep, I've got his notes right here. Yeah. So Michael unfortunately could not be with us this morning. Apparently he's doing something crazy and training for a 100-mile bike ride fundraiser thing like a crazy person. So he couldn't be here this morning because apparently Saturdays are bicycling mornings. But he's got some really great ideas going, especially kind of with the Inflation Reduction Act in the background as far as doing energy related transitions in the city of Dallas. He's got a lot of different ideas. I'm going to skim over them briefly. His basic request, and all you really need to remember for today, is that if you're interested in, you know, some of these ideas, or if you're interested in learning more, please contact him, and somebody or myself will drop his email in the chat, and just follow up with him and kind of get that group or that collaboration going. But he's got ideas related to, we know his passion project is the rooftop solar, especially with big box like Walmart's, Targets, those kinds of huge stores. So continuing to work on that, as well as getting more buildings in the city of Dallas to adopt solar panels and rooftop solar. He says the economics are great and the time is right, especially if we want to avoid, you know, some of the problems we've been having with ERCOT as far as grid collapse. The city of Dallas has been doing some work on budgeting, and as a result, they've kind of really been looking at CCAP, and there's no concerns right now with money getting cut from CCAP, but what we're saying is that the attention, like CCAP is fresh in everybody's minds, and they've rededicated to the values that are in the CCAP. And so now it's time to kind of really say, okay, well, you agree that we need a clean transition, we need better air quality for everybody, blah, 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 blah. So now it's the time to back up your words, city council members. Let's actually act on this. And so opportunities there. He's got some materials he wants me to share, so I'll drop those in the chat as well later. And then he says future actions that we might be looking at include some petitions for city council members to encourage big businesses to adopt rooftop solar, or to align with the mission and the vision that is in the CCAP. As well as encouraging city council members to pass some sort of measure where the city encourages homeowners to go solar, maybe with a solar co-op. So there's this nonprofit called Solar United Neighbors, or SUN, but they're a nonprofit dedicated to helping neighborhoods go mass solar. Yeah, but main thing to think about today is that if this is something that you're interested in learning more about, or if this is a particular passion area for you as far as the climate movement goes, please contact Michael. He's really excited about this, and we definitely want to be moving on this as, you know, ASAP. And so please contact him. And if you have any questions too, because he's the solar expert, I am not, I am just the messenger. And that's it for that.
Thanks, Alex. Simon, I think we have elections coming up. You want to mention those real quickly?
Absolutely. So as we've talked about this meeting extensively, 3 of our executive members have moved to Oregon. So we need some people to step up and replace them. Jeff is still our membership chair, even though he's in Oregon and has a new job. And he would appreciate it if somebody would step up to help him alleviate some time. We also need an education chair. Roger just moved up to Eugene, so that position is open. Co-vice chair. We would really like to have someone else on events to work with Richard. There are a lot of opportunities in Dallas. If you have thought about getting more involved, please step up, contact us, talk to us. It's really not as intense as you might think from the outside, I promise. It doesn't matter if you're new to the chapter, wherever you are. If you know something forward and backward and you want to share that, if you don't know something, like if you want to, like, say, learn how to do membership, this is a great opportunity to learn. No experience required. Just if you have been thinking about getting more involved in the movement, please consider running for one of these positions. Amy, your hand's up.
Yes, my hand was up, not for that though. So I don't want to interrupt. It was about the link that I sent out earlier. I just wanted to kind of stick a pin in there.
That's all I had. So go for it.
The Google Drive link, I don't think works. So I just also sent a Dropbox link if anybody wants to access those presentations. So that is all.
Good, thank you. Alex, I think you have a couple of updates on BOEM and GAF for us.
Yes. Okay. So BOEM, or the Bureau of Ocean Energy Management. Long story short, because we've talked about this a few times now at the chapter meetings, there is concern about opening up more leases for drilling in the Gulf of Mexico and the Cook Inlet of Alaska. And they're, like Amy was talking about earlier, some parts of the IRA do allow for this. And so there's concerns about justice. A lot of communities feel betrayed, especially in the Gulf of Mexico, because they feel like they're sacrifice zones. And that is kind of what they've become at this point. And so one way that we can act, and one way that we've been encouraging chapter members to act, is to submit comments to the BOEM, or BOEM as they call themselves. And so by doing this, the way the public comment period works is that BOEM is required to read every single comment and to take it into account as they go forward with their decisions before, I believe it's Department of the Interior Secretary Holland approves it. And so the deadline for submitting your comments is October 6th. We need as many people to be doing it as possible. The good news is that we also had this action on the Climate Action Now application. And so far, more than 365 people have submitted comments through that. I don't have numbers for chapter members. I do know a good handful of us have done that. Excuse me. So if you have not done that yet, the time is coming, the deadline is approaching. We need you to do that as soon as possible and to tell as many people as you can to do it. We've made it super easy to do. I'm going to drop the link for our campaign for the coast that our chapter launched. And it has all of the instructions you need, as well as access to suggested comments. Yes, Brittany. So everything you need is going to be on this website. Please check it out, submit your comment. And just to kind of give everybody a spotlight into the mobilization that's happening around this, I went to an opportunity to submit oral comments. I was trying to do that on behalf of the chapter. Unfortunately, they ran out of time before they got to me. But in the 3 hours that I was at this meeting, literally every single person submitting a comment, with the exception of one individual who is apparently a Trump supporting candidate from Pennsylvania or something like that, were submitting comments against allowing for these leases. So I heard somebody from Climate Reality San Antonio. I heard some people from the Gulf Coast, some people from the Indigenous Coastal Bend community. And so a lot of people are doing this, and there's a lot of action happening here. So we need to get on, this is what we stand for. This is what we're talking about. This is, key to our mission statement. And so it's time for us to put our money where our mouth is, so to speak. So please submit comments before October 6th. Again, that link has everything you need. It has the explanation of why. It has access to suggested comments, and it has access to the regulations.gov link that you need to submit the comment. Or you can also look for it on the Climate Action Now app. If you search Gulf, it's going to be one of the options that pop up. So that's that. Any questions about the BOEM comments thing? Tell your friends. Okay. And then the second update I have is related to the GAF's Gotta Go, or GAF's Gotta Go campaign that we are a part of. Again, because we've talked about this a lot, I won't go into a lot of detail. GAF is an asphalt shingle plant located in a West Dallas community that is responsible for a lot of pollution in this West Dallas community. They're currently doing public health surveys because there's concerns about the emissions from this facility. And so originally the facility was in conversation with Singleton United, which is the neighborhood community that is trying to, advocate for the health of their citizens and their residents. So GAF was in conversation with them for a while, but then suddenly pulled out of the negotiations, and essentially is trying to go through a back door is the idea. So they submitted to the city of Dallas a zoning application to change their zoning from industrial to, I think, mixed use. Let me look. Yeah, they're trying to rezone their site into planned development district without industrial use, which after talking to people at Singleton United sounds great in theory, but what this essentially means is that they are no longer negotiating with the community, and now there is no legal precedent to hold them to. So essentially if this zoning application gets approved, what it basically means is that they can continue to do what they've been doing as long as they want, as long as they're saying they're going to shut down eventually. So, but there's nothing holding them to that. So it would essentially give them a free pass from the city of Dallas. So Singleton United feels very betrayed by this, rightfully so. So what they're asking us to do is kind of be ready to start submitting public comments to the city council when this zoning application comes through. They estimate that it's going to be about 3 months before it gets heard, just because there's a backlog of zoning stuff going on. And so we're just asking chapter members to be ready to submit comments to the City of Dallas council members. Even if you don't live in the City of Dallas, that's okay. You could still submit comments. But yeah, just be ready for that. We're part of this campaign and we need to back up this frontline community. And so just kind of be ready for that. Yeah, that's it for that. Oh, Richard, you want me to go ahead and do a couple other announcements related to big climate reality stuff?
Right, yeah, this is a
Okay.
good time.
Okay. All right, guys. Some more updates. I'm sorry I'm throwing a lot of updates at you, but Climate Reality, big organization, has a lot of stuff that's moving and shaking right now. So just to give everybody a heads up, if you have not applied for the Power Up training that is coming up in Houston, thank you, Amy, for submitting your comment. But if you have not applied for the Power Up training in Houston and you are interested in doing that, the deadline is September 19th, which is Monday. So now is the time to do it. I'm going to drop the link in the chat as well. What this training is, it's the first of its kind, but it is dedicated to networking and advocacy, primarily in the Gulf South related to environmental justice. I think it's going to be great. I've had a chance to kind of look at some of the preliminary details and I'm very excited for it. So if you have the ability and you're able to go, please go. I think it's going to be great, especially to represent DFW. We've gotten approval from our regional organizer that they're going to be able to either sponsor some carpool or maybe sponsor us renting a van to kind of, carpool down there. So transportation shouldn't be too much of an issue. Yeah, so I think it would be a really exciting, especially in-person opportunity. I know a lot of people are interested in doing some in-person things. And so this would be a great chance to meet other Texas chapter members, as well as maybe meeting some of people in our chapter for the first time. I know I did that when I went to Las Vegas for the training. So that's really exciting, but please apply ASAP. Deadline is September 19th. I believe it's at 11:59 Eastern time, so 10:59 our time. So that's that. Any questions about the Power Up training? It's at the end of October. Also, I didn't mention that. It's October 27th and the 28th, which is a Thursday and Friday.
Is anybody already planning to go? I was just curious.
Me.
Nice.
Yeah, I applied and I know Michael Martin has applied, and maybe others have applied.
Yeah, so there's a good handful of us. We won't know if we were accepted until probably after the application closes. I think it said mid-September, so when the application closes. But they're really wanting to get, the only people who are allowed to go are frontline community members in the Gulf South, other environmental justice advocates in the Gulf South, as well as Climate Reality members, both trained and untrained. You don't have to be trained. So you don't have to be trained and you can already be trained. They don't care. They just want you there. As long as you're from the Gulf South and I think Ohio, because Ohio's been doing a lot of stuff related to fossil fuel extraction.
And is this link you put in the chat, Alex, is the climaterealityproject.org? Is that it?
Yes, the one that says /training/Houston.
Yep. Okay. Thank you.
My pleasure. Yeah. So the application's on there. There were scholarships, but those are primarily for frontline community members. And then that application also unfortunately closed on September 15th. So, but like I said, we should be able to help with transportation at least. Yeah, so that's the Power Up training. I did the GAF update. Okay, the next update is that Climate Reality is doing a text out the vote with Climate Reality. So we are, and this is kind of related to what Simon was doing with the voter registrars, but really what they're doing is that they're just trying to build a grassroots text team to make sure that people, especially people in key states like Texas, are encouraging people to vote. Because we are a nonprofit, we are not allowed to say who to vote for. We can't really get involved in elections, but we can get people to vote. So, and we want people to vote. So if you're interested in that, if, especially protecting democracy is something that's interesting to you, or this is something that you're passionate about or interested in learning more about, especially mobilizations from a grassroots perspective, this is a great opportunity. It's probably not, I haven't done it personally myself, but I doubt there's a big time commitment because it's texting. So that's that. if you are interested. Any questions about texting out the vote with Climate Reality? Nope. Okay. And then the final announcement from Big Climate Reality is 24 Hours of Reality is coming up. If you are not aware of what this is, it is basically a spotlight on solutions and hope that Climate Reality does every year. This year it's on October 7th, 2022. So what they will be doing is for 24 hours, they will be sharing different climate stories, different sources of inspiration. And so if you have a climate story or you want to listen to these climate stories, please visit this website. You can submit your climate story or you can sign up for updates to be able to take part, watch that. Al Gore gets involved. It's really interesting. A lot of times they get some celebrities involved. I think last year they had some people from the Disney Channel doing it. I forget. Leah, do you remember who that kid was from the Las Vegas training? I don't remember what he was either, but apparently he's from the Disney Channel.
Caleb
Yeah.
Worthy, I think. I don't
Yeah,
even
that
know
kid.
who he is, but
Yeah. I think he's from the Disney Channel. He was an actor on one of those TV shows, but it's a really cool thing. Jonathan Scott from the Property Brothers is also a trained Climate Reality leader. He was involved in it last year. Yeah, so stay tuned. October 7th, submit your climate story if you have one that you are interested in submitting. Okay. Did I miss anything? Is that all of the announcements I was supposed to hit?
Yeah, I think you're good. I have one other quick update. Just this week, we did pay our dues for EarthX 2023. So giving everybody notice that around April 22nd, 2023, for 3 days, we'll be needing to staff a booth at EarthX. It'll be at Fair Park this year, which is a bigger venue than the convention center. So start thinking about that. That's our last update. And Jeffrey, I think you're going to take us out with some community building.
Couldn't get myself unmuted. This is a poem that I read this morning that struck me, from a new book of poetry, Love Notes from the Hollow Tree by Jared K. Anderson. Yeah. And you may hear a little echo of a recently disgraced politician. It's called Not to Brag. Hey, we're humans, a pretty young species. You've probably heard of us. We're the top life form on Earth. You can tell because smartphones and toilets and such. Sure, we need older creatures to make all of our food and oxygen, but that's all. Oh, and we need them to live in our guts to help us digest things, but it's not a big deal. We're on top. We know because we've said so. Oh, we're also the smartest. That's important. Smart is a word we invented using our smarts. It's a measure of how well any creature can do things humans value via methods we understand. Simple, right? I assure you, we're very smart and very in charge. That's it. Thank you.
Thank you, Jeffrey.
Richard, can I pop in real quick for one announcement that I forgot to make that I put in the chat?
Go for it.
So this is another working group update really quickly, y'all. Jan, I saw you and remembered, so thanks for being here. But the faith-based working group, we're hosting a contemplative nature walk in Cedar Ridge Nature Preserve on October 8th. It's going to be, an opportunity for contemplation, for respecting nature, some of these values that we all hold very dear. A lot of people say that they first came to the climate movement because they enjoy being outside. And so we want to take advantage of that. And hopefully the weather will be nice that day. So if you are interested, please email me and I will get you some more information. We're still working on some logistics and stuff. But yeah, so mark your calendars for October 8th. Thank you.
Good. Well, we are done, perhaps in record time today, despite all the updates and everything. We're done pretty
And it
quickly.
looks like Rebecca also has an opportunity for gardening if y'all want to check out the chat if you're interested in doing that tomorrow. So thank you, Rebecca.
Good, good. Okay, well, a few of us will stay on, but our meeting is officially adjourned. Thank you so much for attending this Saturday morning. We'll see you next month. There'll be lots of updates and lots of activities to be considering in the next few weeks. Everybody be well.